So, of course, the team to face the All Blacks is out, and I gave my thoughts on the team selection and had a quick look through the team in my Dragon Sports video earlier. So, if you wanted to see a more look at the team as a whole, go and have a check out of that. In this one, I wanted to do similar to what I've done in some other videos where I've looked at specific positions and changes or lack of changes and just give my thoughts on if I think is a good move or not, etc. So, starting with the most glaring issue that I think they haven't addressed, and that is probably what most of you are thinking, and that is Blair Murray at fullback. It was an issue in the first game. They said they were going to make changes to help protect him. They kind of did that because they put Cracknell pretty much next to him in every kick receipt situation from deep, and they tried to get as many blockers in front as they can legally, which you can't really do now. But still, he was left wanting. I think he won one clean one, and I think he deflected a couple to Cracknell, maybe three off the top of my head. So it was better than the first game, but they had to, of course, sacrifice Cracknell out of the line and change the defensive structure to basically help Blair Murray, which kind of makes no sense to me. So you're basically sacrificing the way you set up your kick defense because your fullback can't catch the ball. Now, I'm not going to get down on Blair Murray too much. It's a little bit of the classic second season syndrome where he was so good in the first season and he was the bit of the breakout player for Wales, and then the second one is always hard to follow up on. And unfortunately, teams have found the issue in his game, and that is the high ball. Defensively, he is not great, but he's okay. But under the high ball, he's really been found wanting. And I think it's a little bit, I don't want to say criminal, because we don't know how important Blair Murray is to setting up the team, and he's obviously that kick option, left peg. He's very effective at the 50-22. You see that a lot for the Scarlets. He nails those. But for Wales, I just don't think this is the right move. I really think they needed to go with someone with a bit more size and put Blair Murray on the wing. I would have still kept him in the team, of course, because he has got a bit of X factor. But I think they should have put a more prominent catcher of the ball at 15. Could have just swapped Rogers and Blair Murray. I probably would have actually gone for one of the two Cardiff fullbacks, either Beetham, if you still wanted that big howitzer of a kicker and the ability to be a playmaker who's a bit familiar with 10, or Cam Winnett has been brought quietly into the team over his fitness issues now, to my knowledge, so he's probably the best high ball player defensively we've got in Wales, so you could have brought him in. As it is, they've gone with Blair Murray. They are going to have to protect him. I just don't know if the balance of that back three with Rees-Zammit, who's not the most certain under the high ball, and then Blair Murray is great. I don't know whether they think New Zealand are just going to really try and play and not sort of kick as much, but I think putting him there is going to be a gamble, and we're going to see a huge amount of kicks coming his way as we have in the other two games. So not to change him is a mistake for me. Moving then inwards, where they have made a change, and I think it's for a positive one. It's what I was calling for going into the Six Nations, and that's putting Hawkins at 12 alongside Max Llewellyn at 13, who's also come under a lot of criticism because he hasn't really done an awful lot, particularly in attack. Defensively, he's been decent, to be fair, but in attack, he's not offered. I'll be like, in my opinion, he's offered nothing. He doesn't carry, which is weird because he's a big guy. So maybe putting Hawkins in there, who is that ball player as well, and also a bigger guy. So you've got the ability to carry it. That's why I wanted him in the first place. Nothing against Ben Thomas. I'm a big fan of his for what he does at Cardiff. But I think at international level, maybe a bit more size is useful, always, of course. So now you can have maybe two centres that could potentially be carriers, and maybe that opens up opportunities for each other or maybe other players, because Ben Thomas can and does carry, but he's not a hugely effective carrier with his lack of size. So maybe people were honing in on Llewellyn, and that's maybe why they weren't using him as a carrier, because they were thinking they're lining him up because he's the carrier of the pair. Now we've got two carriers in there. I think that's a good move. I think Joe Hawkins' time in Exeter kind of was really disappointing, and we were kind of pining to get him back in Wales a little bit, and now he's back. I think there's a good chance to build around him a little bit, and I think this is a positive move. The one criticism of the coaches around this selection I will go with is they brought Joe Roberts into the squad, and he's probably going to have to play 13 next week. So for me, I would have put him on the bench, even though, and this is not hating on Nick Tompkins, because I thought Nick Tompkins made a real impact off the bench last week. I just think he's not going to be there next week. Joe Roberts is, and probably playing with Hawkins, because they have that Scarlets connection as well. So maybe bringing Roberts off the bench and getting them having some minutes at international rugby together would have been useful, but that's just a nitpick, to be honest. Adam Beard is another one that I was a little bit disappointed. I understand you can't change everyone. You've got to keep some continuity. That second row partnership is a partnership because they've played together quite a bit, but they are very similar players. And Adam Beard just doesn't really do enough for me. He's something that I've constantly had issues with him in the past on this channel. When he came back into this squad after missing the summer, I was happy for him to start, and I thought his experience coming back, a bit of extra size, maybe playing out in France would have given him a little bit more of an edge, but it hasn't really changed him as a player. He's still that lack of carrying, as I mentioned in my Dragon video, 1 carry last week. Yes, he hits rucks. He doesn't ever put a big shot in defence. He's a pretty sure tackler, I will say that of him, but they're never coming into Adam Beard and he's stopping them dead or he's smashing them back. They kind of come into him and he sort of falls back, and it's like a bear hug tackle. And someone who's I think he's 6'9", I want to see him just absolutely destroying people. And I understand his primary thing is the line out. His maul defence is superb, but when you have 1 carry in a game, it's just not good enough, I don't think. And if you probably look back over, this is just pure speculation on my part, but if you look back at all of Adam Beard's career games for Wales and you looked at his carries, I bet you most of those aren't dominant ones. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. But carrying on from this is the main point of, like I said, the line out is his thing. And he is a very good line out operator. And I'm not saying this is his fault, but the line out hasn't operated well this autumn necessarily. It's been okay in the previous 2 games. It was okay in this. It was okay in the Japan game, but I think it was about 82%. So it's not as if he's such a wizard that he's making the line out amazing, because it's not amazing, and that's not down necessarily to him. But if you're going to pick someone because they're good at calling a line out, and then the line out isn't just good, not because of him, because of the other parts, then you're losing the benefit of him being an amazing line out caller, if you get what I mean. I know I'm kind of rambling a little bit there, but that's what I mean. You're not getting the benefits of him. I would have really preferred to, people will probably say Freddie Thomas, but I would have preferred to see Rhys Davies in there. He's a big guy. He's a bit of an enforcer. He throws it around a bit, and he will get his hands on the ball, and he does push shots in, and he's probably going to be involved in the team next week. So I don't know. And again, similar as I mentioned, Nick Tompkins, I maybe would have wanted to see Rhys Davies or Ben Carter on the bench rather than Freddie Thomas, because he's not going to be here next week. But that's, again, a very nitpick. I'm happy to see Freddie Thomas. I would have preferred Freddie Thomas to start, as someone whoever it was, just not Adam Beard, who actually offers something. But anyway, that's just a nitpick. And then the back row, and this is a nitpick because I'm not disappointed with this back row selection, and I think for the fact that we're playing the All Blacks, this could work, because the likelihood is it could get pretty expansive and fast-paced. So to have Deeves come in along with Mann, although they were a little bit undersized, and I don't mean that in a bad way, because as I said on my Dragon video, they punched well above their weight, and then I actually saw Tandy in the press conference say Deeves packs a punch, which he does. These two are going to be so busy, you're going to see them all over the park, all over the pitch constantly. in defence, in attack. You'll notice them popping up everywhere, and that's a real good thing. Their engine and their rugby intelligence as to where to be is spot on. Both of them, both dogs, they're very similar players, as they're just really into everything, annoying for opposition. Alex Mann's got a bit more of an edge to him, but Deves doesn't back down to people. He gets in people's faces, and he loves the rough and tumble and just loves rugby. So I'm excited for him. I'm really happy he's going to get his cap, and I'm glad he's going to get the start. Of course, it's at the expense of Cracknell, which is really disappointing. But I'm happy to see Mann go back to 6, although he made a very good account of himself at 7. It's not his natural position. He did really well. He had a really good game, but 6 is his better position. I wish he was just a tiny bit bigger, but not that I think he's not capable. I just think we need to get him on whatever Wainwright's diet was, because him and Wainwright, I'm pretty sure, were like a similar build a few years ago, and Wainwright's a monster now. And as for Wainwright, I'm glad to see him back at 8, because I find he's so much more effective there. I've said in previous videos, I don't think he's a 6. I don't think he suits his style of play anymore. I think he's completely changed as a player from the player who played in the first era under Gatland, who was in at 6, who's doing a lot of donkey work and a lot of tackling. He doesn't do so much of that now, but he does a real high amount of excellent ball carrying. So putting him back at 8, I think it suits him, and that back row that we got for Saturday against New Zealand is far better balanced, I feel, than the back row that faced Japan. It's just a shame we had to lose Ollie Cracknell for that to happen. But other than that, it's a pretty strong team, and I'm pretty happy overall with it. A lot of these have just been like little things that you could tweak, and I'd like to know what you guys think. Let me know what you think. Hopefully we don't get pasted by New Zealand. I don't want to sound negative, but if we can keep it under 50 and maybe score a few tries like we did against the Pumas, I won't be too disappointed. Let me know what you think, and I will catch you on the next one.